good afternoon. You can go to sleep for about an hour now whilst I'm on. I'm the CEO, as it says, of St Christopher's Trust. And I think I'd probably call myself an inadvertent CEO. So I came into the post because somebody was off sick and I was between jobs, and I ended up actually getting the job permanently, but also quite a massive mess to sort out. And that was 9 years ago. And today my successor is being announced in about 25 minutes. So I'm going to be finishing in my role at the end of the summer. And this is probably just describing to you part of our trust journey, and the point about how inclusion really is at the heart of it. But as I was reflecting today, in what Kieran said, was that it's at the heart of me. And I think that also the leader and how the leader is and the persistence of the leader is the part that really makes it gel and brings the culture into the right place. So this is our trust. And it is primary, so it's primary only trust, and we have been deliberate about that. We would have liked to have been special schools as well, because we feel there's a real synergy around practice, and it feels like the space where we best understand one another and focused on pedagogy. Sorry if you're a secondary practitioner, but that's my sort of quite view. We work across 3 local authorities, so Plymouth, Devon and Torbay, all of whom are quite different, even though they should be quite connected, but they are very different. So that's quite a challenge. As it says, 4,500 children. Of those children, and again, you're sort of talking quite big numbers here. We've got looked after children, seems like quite a small group, but we have many adopted children as well, who again can get forgotten. It doesn't mention forces families as well. We've got a significant number of forces families. Again, their needs are quite significant. 20% overall of our pupils are classed as disadvantaged. And we've got some really gorgeous schools here in Plymouth that some might say, St Peter's down here with the lovely car park and Toys R Us, empty Toys R Us surrounding it is not possibly the nicest environment to be in, but the school is growing in numbers and is a really thriving school. And we then have, as it says there, 125 EHCs. So that's the lovely label, isn't it? So we've got sticker label on them, and it means points means prizes. It's all about getting some money. They've got to have an EHC. And then 585 who are not fitting quite how for me, education social conformity. I probably shouldn't say that as somebody who's leading a trust. And that's a real shame, because actually it's not about social conformity. It is about continuing to develop your curiosity and your love of learning. And we were talking, when, again, thinking back to the previous speakers, that love of learning has carried on for me. So even, as I said, I did a PGCE, I didn't know enough. I did a master's, I didn't know enough. I actually started doing an MPhil, and then I did a master's, and then I've done a further since I've become a CEO, because I didn't know how to do the job. And the reason I wanted to learn was because I wanted to be the best I could at serving my community, which is this lovely bunch, very, very different schools. So they go from currently a school on Dartmoor that has 5 children in it at the moment, to one in the heart of Exeter that has 620. So, and they all have had, so many of them, and I've said about being a bit of a mess, many of them, the Ofsted phrasing about being at least good, nearly half of them were less. So we had inadequate schools, and in fact, schools have came to us that had that sort of label saying good, but very, very broken. And parents successful at SEND tribunals, and things like this. You sort of think, oh, how does that happen? And for me, having done this, been a leader for nearly 30 years, I was like, what's what's happened, what's gone wrong to get to that point. So some real anxiety and real mistrust from parents of schools, and a lot of drama. And for me, and the schools came together, and that was what was quite interesting. The schools came together because they were promised autonomy. They were told, so the first ones that came through, is about 9 of them, they were told, oh, it's really great. You can come and join us and you're going to get some money. We get some money come in. This was back in 2013. We get some money and you can have that money. So when I started in 2016, I was getting people to phone, where's our money? And I said, what money? And I said, it's actually, the money was there to set up the trust and to do all these things. There was nothing sort of kind of running within it. So I had to mediate that. I also had to mediate schools that wanted autonomy. And actually, for me, learning is it's a social entity. It's a social activity. Although I'm introvert, so I do find that a bit hard. But I wanted to bring people together because it was our trust. And I think one of the things, it's not, whilst it is a business, the people within it have to understand, I believe, have to understand how their role impacts on everybody. So it's trying to think we're all on this, boat, or whatever analogy you want to use. And if one of us goes down, we all go down. So we are totally interdependent. And so I came into this, but also, as the previous have said, it was never about outcomes for children. It was about provision, because for me personally, I believe that the best provision gets outcomes. And that if you get that provision right for every child, they do indeed flourish. And for me, that definition about inclusion, this one's come from, this is UNICEF, this is what they say, is about those diverse groups to grow side by side to the benefit of all. And belonging is a very key part. And if you were to look at our trust strategy, we have 3 aspects to it: actively advantaging, stewarding the future, and championing diversity. And diversity being about, and for me, I want to know that every child and every adult feels like they belong and are part of our environment. And I think that comes from bitter experience as a parent, being in a park one day with 2 little boys, one non-verbal, one who just about was interacting. And the youngest, aged 3, we were at the park, and across is our village, hall. And Isaac ran down to the edge. I thought, what's he doing? And he'd gone down, and he's there. And there were people outside, and I looked, and I suddenly realised this was the whole of the preschool playgroup, and it was a party, and he wasn't invited. And and he wanted to get in because he could see, and children were coming to talk to him, and people just looked embarrassed and shuffled in. And I had to pick myself up and walk back and say, come on, we're going to play. And then say to my husband, we've got to go now. I can't, And the tears and the distress as a parent to never be invited to birthday parties or all of that exclusion, personally to suffer that, just made me more and more determined to ensure that whatever environment I was in, it was one that welcomed all, and that's parents as well as children. So I want to think about, and I think the part for me that's come out of this is when you're trying to work, and I'm thinking Spaghetti Bridge as an independent special school, as an EP, as anyone working in these different environments, or indeed as parents, when you're working successfully with someone, how does it feel? What happens? I want you to think about that. We're rather spread out, so you might just want to think about it. You might just want to chat to the people next to you if you've got someone near you. But how does it feel when it is really good? And what about when it's less so? So just take a couple of minutes to do that. So just bring us back together. Can you just, I don't know if you're feeling brave, because we're not a big group. What, just some of those words that come out, and I think I mostly dwelt on feelings, actually, didn't I? I said, how does it feel when it's working successfully? So what are some of the words that you might use, you know, single words that when it's working successfully?
I was just about to say energizing.
Energizing.
Heard.
Yeah.
Understood.
And positive, yeah. And again, so if we think about that, and then let's just see. No, it didn't pick it up. Oh yes, it did. It did. So if you think about that, then the impact of that and that energy kind of drives that can-do culture, doesn't it? And so you come together with others to problem solve and to do all those things. When you then think about where we don't work together, did anyone actually come up with any words on that? Because hopefully we dwelt on the positive. But what about those where it hasn't worked? What sort of words come out for you there? That was that was the word. The first word that comes in is frustration, isn't it? Yeah. Suspicion. Yeah.
Feeling drained.
Yeah.
And sometimes anger, and I think when it's not working, other emotions take over probably what was the initial emotion, and then it becomes something that's bigger and often more negative than it really needed to be, because
It gets totally out of control, doesn't it? And you know, I unfortunately see those parental complaints where, and actually, and I do say to schools, I say, this isn't about you. This is somebody grieving. It really is. And your compassion and your willingness to be able to listen and hear somebody is going to go miles in this. But if you get afraid in this space as well, then it ends up a standoff, doesn't it? But the impact, you know, coming back to every time, the impact for a young person is immense because if we think about it from a parent's perspective, they're not heard, they're ignored, they're not co-creating, then, and we get to those situations with the 20-page complaint, suddenly a child is, oh my, I'm not getting involved. I'm not going to work with that child because. So it becomes really, really, you know, a detriment to children. And yet, when we work successfully with others, it's not just about one child. It's about lots of children that get that the impact of that collaboration, isn't it? Because it's fueling. It's absolutely fueling the way that things need to be. And I think if you ever want to look at this, the Harvard Business Review is particularly, and it does loads of stuff about silos. So I spend a lot of my time trying to connect my schools together in different ways. I try and give a culture that sort of suggests to everybody that the most important part is coming together to sort out things or be honest and share where I'm struggling. Is there somebody else that can help me around me? Is it safe for me to, as a teacher, to say, I'm really struggling with this child. I don't know how to do well with them. Is it okay for me as a parent to say, I'm really not getting on with the support member of staff that's here at the moment? So having that open, honest and reflective culture is key, but also this is what we see, and this is about, and I've talked about this with working with social services and working with as local authority, as a trust. You can see, and different trusts, you'll see trusts where it's, well, we only do training together, we don't do it with anybody else, and we know best. We know as a trust this is the right way. Actually, we might not know. I think they might know better than us, or, oh, what are they doing? I'd really like to take part in that. So sometimes there's common problems, and if we bring them together, we can get those solutions. But I think these, I don't need to sort of talk at these at length, but it is, that lack of energy, that drain, we're probably reinventing the wheel time and time again when somebody else is around the room that knows. It really is. And visibility as well, isn't it? Because those that collaborate are seen. They are seen because you are You are there, and you know. So if you're not in that space, you're missing out. And that 3 to 5% of improvement year on year, the quality of practice for teachers as well. If you as a teacher stay in your classroom and don't look out and work with others, it can kind of feel safe, and sometimes you need that. But when you look out, you kind of go, oh, well, they're doing something brilliant, but oh, actually, they've said that what I'm doing is really good. And you know, again, that energy, that positive energy feeds that learning. And you know, and it is, I would say that one on the end is the biggest for me. It's a missed opportunity. So I'm going to take, I'm going to show you 2 videos actually, because I was trying to bring it to my level, and I'm bringing it to life. So this is Chloe, and this is Chloe back in, I'm going to say 2014, something like that. And she's now in year 9, year 10 at New College in Worcester. So she's not in mainstream now. Chloe is deaf-blind, and her mum, I was head teacher at the time, and her mum came to my school with Dad, who's also deaf as well. So we were having to do lots of signing and things as well, and said, I would really like our daughter to start at your school. And what did I say? I said, oh, that's really exciting. I don't know what to do, but I'll give it a go. And that, if you were to ask Chloe's mum, Jane, that is what she remembers, was the fact that I was just honest, but I wanted her in the school. My belief was that if I got it right for Chloe, I got it right for lots of other children. And that's what I've always tried to keep in my mind, is it makes for exceptional teachers. Great inclusion makes exceptional teachers. So we had to put a huge amount of time and energy to getting to grips with what it meant to have Chloe in school. And this is a little video of her, and she's going to tell you all about it. Hopefully. Oh, no.
Hello, my birthday.
The sound. And it's not moving either, so it might need to.
Yes, this is Chloe, and she has every reason to feel proud of her school. It's largely thanks to her that this 5-year-old is confident, happy and blossoming. This beautiful little girl is also deaf and blind. Despite that, she's attending St Leonard's Primary School, a mainstream school in Exeter. It has always been Chloe's parents' wish that she should attend a mainstream school. She has only peripheral vision and limited hearing since getting cochlear implants. Seeing her do so well in the classroom today, though, she's doing better than her parents ever could have dreamt.
Chloe was born with very severe disabilities, but she doesn't have any cognitive issues. She's a very bright little girl, so we wanted her to go into a local school where she fitted in, but knew that it was really important that we'd get the package right. And you know, that's what's happened. And she's just happy. We're not isolated. When you're born deaf-blind, a lot of it is about being isolated, and we're not. She's part of the school, and we're part of the wider community, and that's fantastic.
With the help of the deaf-blind charity Sense, Chloe is the first pupil in Devon to have been supported into mainstream school by a Sense consultant funded by Devon County Council. A team of specialists from Sense, along with support workers from Virgin Care, support Chloe and the school with her education, focusing on issues like her speech. Getting the balance between challenging Chloe's learning while providing a nurturing environment is a delicate one.
All the people who are extras, the specialists, advisory teachers, the multisensory workers, the speech and language therapists, everybody's in the background, but they're all pulling together in a coordinated way to ensure that all the right advice and support comes into school and also into the home to ensure Chloe's development.
Despite the support from Sense, meeting Chloe's complex additional needs wasn't without its challenges. Her reception teacher last year was initially nervous about how she'd teach Chloe and meet the needs of her other pupils.
And I thought, how am I going to teach Chloe all the things that I teach the other children? Needing such huge differentiation for her. But she's so amazing. She accesses the curriculum very easily, and it's just tweaking things here and there, having a bit of technology, specialist equipment for her, and she fits in like any other child.
Tweaks have been made to the building too. These stripes on the doors are there to help Chloe see them better. Her teacher uses a microphone and speaker to help Chloe hear. But learning aside, for most parents, what they want most for their child at school is that they're happy and they have friends. Meet Chloe's best mates, Edie and Hannah.
How much do you love being best friends?
A lot. A lot.
And do you think you'll be best friends forever?
Yes.
What more could any parent want than that? Claire Manning, ITV News, Exeter.
So that is kind of like a, you know, it was West Country, so it's a bit of a feel-good film. But behind that, there was some you know, it was tough. It was really tough. The staff, you know, members of staff, we can't do it. Who are these extra workers? The classroom is full of people. It was very stressful at times. But that's the culture, the belief that you can is the part that keeps it going. So she went on to secondary school, and I think this is where keeping it real kicks in. So Edie is still friends with her, actually. But what happened at secondary school was suddenly brailing became an issue because you had to carry a brailer, and she got people with her. She was made to feel different. And I do believe part of that is not about the school necessarily, it's about adolescence too, and being different, being very, very difficult. And I'm afraid she came to the point where she was in a very poor mental state. But again, through that ability to be able to reach out and have that community around her, she was given a mentor who was deafblind, who was just like her. And that mentor was able to make her realise that she was just as valuable as everyone else in that school. It was, yes, she didn't fit, but she found others. And she went to New College, Worcester, and she's there now. And those are just comments from herself. But the lovely thing was when I spoke, because I asked about using this was last year, and then Jane said, oh, she's like the sunshine girl that you knew. And she said she's back to that. She said she's written the Christmas play, and she said, and it's things that are, she said, amaze me as a parent. She said she's going down to the shops because actually they don't see, and they laugh about being blind. And she said there's all these in jokes because she's in a community where she truly belongs. But she's come home now and is more confident when she does. So it's been. It is that membrane, and I think that's where what we need to be really thinking about is how is that ability to move between settings, to move between spaces. When we're not in a good place, can we be in another space? Can we be in another school? Can we, as a child that really excels in art but is in a special provision, can we go into that mainstream setting? Can we access in some virtual way that mainstream setting to get that qualification? Because it feels like our silos are truly set, and that's part of what we need to be challenging around. So my next video, so staying awake, I hope, is around the aspect about collaboration and about how it is working in a trust. So that was about an individual. And so within our trust, we've got a huge range of needs. We now have, since last year, from Plymouth, thank you very much, a Director of Inclusion. And it's been about pulling together all of those that work around inclusion to say, how can we get the best provision across all our schools? Because some of our schools, 21, some are brilliant at it. For some, not with us, thank you, or, oh, we've got some different children coming in, you know, it's sort of, really? So it's had to take a journey to get to a space where everyone understands. There's quite a healthy myth, I think, which is helpful, is, we can't exclude anyone because Joe wouldn't have it. So I like that, and I think we like to perpetuate that one, so people work really hard to keep children included. But it is, I want everyone to feel that they want all children. Every child in their locality should be able to be in their local school. So this is, you're going to meet, so this is Emma, who's a SENCO, and you're also going to meet Lindsay, who's our Director of Inclusion. I can't remember, we do have some video of the parent that's in here and the child, but I think it might be on another one. I asked it to be cut down, so hopefully, let's see what comes out. Oh, you're going to have to do your thing again now.
So St Christopher's Trust really prioritise children with special needs. It's something we're really highlighted for, and the Trust talks about education being as inclusive and different as the child, and I think that's really what we see here at Mary Church. What they've done is they've created a provision which they call Dolphins, which can help children either in small groups for a big majority of their day or a smaller part of their day, but also one-to-one for its specific interventions. The Trust allows this to happen because they direct finances that way to allow it to be in place, and some of our other schools have got some intervention spaces as well, such as the Eden Room at St Peter's in Plymouth, which helps children with communication and interaction needs. What have you put in place to support children with SEMH need?
So it's quite an extensive offer, I would say, and obviously can be quite bespoke and tailored to each child because every child is different. So we have a nurture provision within the school, which is the hub for working with children with SEMH needs. Some of those children will require more support than others, and we have a range of interventions we can offer that we will tailor to each child's needs. So for example, we offer things like zones of regulation, art therapy, and we'll look at which each child needs.
As a trust, we also provide a bank of resources for our SENCOs and our head teachers and our leaders. So actually there is specific paperwork that can help children, particularly with those SEMH needs. We have relational care plan, behaviour care plans, and all the paperwork that is needed to ensure we are following that graduated approach to get them the external support that they need. If head teachers or SENCOs have concerns about children or they want more support, they can contact their link inclusion worker or their school improvement team member, and they can offer advice around those children and things that can support them further. The CPD package is also really thorough, and most of our schools have now had PIPS training, which has been in-house. There are inclusion networks which help the SENCOs to share information with each other and learn from each other. Emma, can you think of a child where you've seen really significant progress because of the support that Mary Church have put in?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one particular young person who is currently in year 3 and has been with us since reception. He presented quite quickly in reception as having additional needs, and we found quite quickly that we had to put things in place to support him. So this young person has been part of our nurture provision. He has now moved on from being in the nurture provision for full mornings to have a one-to-one throughout his day. This enables us to offer something really bespoke for him. We have trained the staff, they have worked with him for quite a while and have got to know him, built really strong attachments with the young person, and will attend interventions with him as well, so that any training that he is having, the adult is having at the same time. It allows for them to have that shared common language, and they're able to then recognise the same feelings that the child is having, so that they can kind of tackle things before they happen almost and preempt situations.
Emma, what outside agencies do you use to work with children with SEMH need?
So there's a range of people that we can consult with. So we can consult with health. So there's a few different paediatricians that we work with quite regularly who might be in charge of doing particular assessments. We also work with Mayfield Chestnut Outreach Service, and they've been really instrumental in helping us support some children who've had really challenging times. They will offer a worker to come in to do an observation and assessment of each pupil. We'll work with the staff to build a programme for each individual pupil, and then we'll come in and work with the child in our school, the staff and the parents, and that's been really helpful, just having the parents on board as well, because it means that we can then be consistent with our approaches both at home and at school.
St Christopher's can really think about what different children need, and they can use their resources across the trust to help as many children as possible, all children. So they think really creatively. So what's happened at Mary Church is they have Dolphins, which is a classroom with a small number of children in, with a high ratio of adults who can help them with being ready to be in the classroom, to learn about their emotions, to learn how they can regulate their emotions, to get them ready to learn. And that's really seen good impact at Mary Church. All those children who have accessed it are now back in class and doing really well. We've seen improvements in behaviour, we've seen less suspensions and no permanent exclusions this year, which is brilliant.
And I think, so from that as well, it came in yesterday, so I've just printed one out really. So each of the settings has done an impact report, and I was quite surprised I thought, well, how can you measure it? Because again, we get quite stuck on, well, it's about phonics results, etc. And I will say, in our trust, if you're looking at those measures, our pupils that are labelled SEND do better than national. So actually, we are doing well with the young people that we have. The majority, I can't say all, but I will say for the majority. But what I got through here was, is things like intervention assessments, and it says Forest School, there's average points gained +1. So I'm looking, I think, well, there's obviously some sort of measure here, and I'm only doing it as CEO, I'm not an expert at this. Zones of regulation +5, self-esteem +9, logotherapy +3. So they're measuring, they're not just doing stuff, they're measuring what they're doing. Individual behaviour dip sample. So I've just got an initial for each child. Logs since September to December, 62 for Z. Logs since January to April, 23. Another child here from 10 to 0, another 11 to 7. I know that I saw the Eden Room here in Plymouth. One has gone from 42, but up to like 100. So it's not all, it's not all going the right way. And, there are some children that are really, really struggling. So it's all of that. But what I really liked on this, so it's got the whole school behaviour bit on the back and how that's captured, but it had parent voice. And it says here, 100% of parents would recommend the interventions to other families. 100% of parents feel their child has benefited from the intervention. And it's just got some little sound bites here. He's been more confident, willing to take risks and go wrong. He is happy and more confident, positive attitude, learning skills to regulate emotions, enjoyed talking about her feelings. So I've got that bit, and also the pupils, they've said 100% of them believe that the interventions have helped them improve, 100% have enjoyed the interventions, and 100% would recommend the interventions to a friend. And again, they've said, it has helped me to be more calm in classroom. I am very confident. I can deal with my emotions and am more confident in myself. And then another one's put, my maths has improved. So, but again, it's not a silver bullet. It's not trying to tie it down in a regulation. It's just trying to say, in this space, what's important, and it's everybody's voice. And I think I've reflected for me, what is great inclusion about? And it is commitment. It's 100% commitment, be it as a member, be it as a member of staff, to being a CEO, to being an organisation. It is, do we truly believe that we're here for every young person and that every young person has the right to feel happy and fulfilled and that they're good enough? Because I think that is, you know, to be cherished for being who you are should be, you know, our purpose. It's about having the, you know, what can I do there, and about committing resource. I was hearing heads of 3 local authorities here actually just debating about why had one local authority had some money, yet the other 2 hadn't, to do something. And actually it was, there needs to be fair here. I did rather think though, you've probably given it to that one because you know something's going to happen with it. That's why it's, you know, you're not going to see it go down a drain, isn't it? So you want to use your resources well, but you have to commit resources to doing things. And often resources, time, it's not necessarily money. It absolutely is about collaboration, and hashtag Power of Us is one of our trust ones as well. It's you know, it's very much at the core of we are definitely stronger together. And I put it in those words, you know, what is it? How can we help in this situation? Is there anyone else? You know, is someone else doing this before we all charge off and make it up and, you know, make videos of this and do that, the other? I bet somebody else is, and I bet they're doing it well, and we just need to be humble and learn from them. And what do you need? What do you need to be successful? And ultimately courage, because it is about working differently. It is saying, oh, you know, I want to listen to them, or I'm going to go to that, or I'm open to learning from others. It's taking time to break out of silos as well, and but actually being accountable. And I have it's a real privilege to do my job actually, because sometimes I hear colleagues and we'll be meeting around, it's like place-based stuff here in Plymouth. And we can go to meetings sometimes and somebody says, oh, well, I've got to go back. I'm in health. I've got to go back and ask whether we can put a budget to that. Or we've got to, and I think, I'm in charge. I can just make this happen in our trust. I can direct our resources in the way that we want to use them. Okay, it might not be enough or it might not be a lot, but what we've got, I can do that. And I can show impact. So if somebody asks us, and that's what's happened there, I've got a culture now where people know they need to think, how can we demonstrate to others that this works? But we have to say, how bad, or how bad is this at the start of what we're doing? We have to be honest, and it's being open and transparent about where things are at. So don't, you know, I always say, what's the point of an action plan if there's nothing wrong? You know, this isn't going very well. I'm not doing very well with this young person. I don't get them. What's it like now in 6 months? It's working. So I was very lucky. Ben Slater, I don't know if you know, he's really great he does sort of mental health stuff, but I was talking about, I wear a starfish. I haven't got it on today. I often wear a starfish. I've got a little one, a big one, and I've got earrings. And it's to remind me, if you've heard that really terrible story where you know, there's a young person throwing starfish back. They'd all been washed up on the beach. And somebody says, oh, you can't save them all. And they say, but I can save this one. And I think when I always think about that starfish, I call it a starfish culture, because what I try to think about is we often can get quite carried away with, we've got to resolve things for all of these young people, etc. Say, well, hang on a minute, can I do it with this one? Or can I do it in this one area, or in this one need? It's trying to pull things back into a manageable way so that you achieve something, because in the world that we're working in, it's totally overwhelming. So actually trying to think be more starfish is, who can I work with that we're going to get some success? I'm having a crush on my speech. I have a crush on my speech therapist, because I know if I stick with her, she's going to show me some skills that are going to make me really great at being able to support children. Or we've got this really great thing. So we ended up doing PIPS training, which is passive intervention, so de-escalating. We actually got trained up because the local authority didn't have capacity, and they knew that we were constantly looking at this. So they actually said, oh, well, would some of your people like to be trainers? So now we've got loads, you know, nearly all our staff, many of our staff, not all of them, have been trained in that through us, but also we're able to do it for other schools as well. So that's the impact of collaboration and making that distance. So I have finished beautifully in time, and I leave you with, so what might you do to improve collaboration in the interest of the system and young people? So that's a debate question, and I don't know whether you want to have a little chat or what would you say, Chris?
Well, I mean, I was just wondering if anybody has any questions for you.
Oh, they can, yes. There we go.
I do.
All right.
Should I take the microphone? Should I take the microphone, or can I just go? Okay, cool. My thing was that, okay, so you talked about how the school helped Chloe, but you mentioned that if you met Chloe's needs, that you were going to meet the needs of all the children.
Yeah.
How does that work? Because that seems kind of counterintuitive, because it seems like if you allocate more resources to one student, doesn't that mean that there's less resources for the other students?
Well, I think you're working on the basis that, so I had to think about the environment for her. So we had to paint doors differently, we had to paint surrounds differently. We, rather than saying, oh, well, she's going to move from this classroom, she's going to need a sound system in the next one, it was, right, we've got 3 sound systems, where are we going to use them? And we also had because we had taken Chloe in, we also then started to get other children that had significant need around hearing and sight. So the adaptations that we made were benefiting others. The one where, and I think we were talking about, where we talked about ASC, what happened again with our ability to meet the needs of all, it was because children have to move class to class, you know that they're in year 2 at the moment, they're going to be in year 6. So actually everyone needs to learn about what best practice is. So it was about that bit, we talked about zones of regulation, you know, are all staff getting this? There's those immediate needs for training, and then those longer term needs for training. So we knew which schools we'd have that we would need that to start with, but then we knew the schools that we would go out to. Or indeed, you start the training as somebody does it, and then it's like, well, just go to Babacombe and see what they do and those sorts of things. So that's the sort of knock-on effect of that collaboration.
Do you think the other students seeing Chloe in that space began to understand maybe to celebrate difference more, if that makes sense? Because I often wonder if you have children who have different needs within a larger community, that they can start to appreciate maybe what's different about themselves. You know, so does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
it's almost like the school, by excluding, emphasizes the importance of conformity, but by including, it almost celebrates the importance of difference.
Yeah, it's one of my colleagues. Her actually put her daughter, had the privilege, grandparents paid for her daughter going to secondary school, independent, and talking about this, she said, well, we can't afford it. She's going to have to go 6th form. And her daughter, and I think this is quite a good example, she said her daughter was sort of outraged about this, you know, thought she should stay in this beautiful school with all its privilege. And suddenly she went into college, and she started talking about privilege all the time. And her mum said, she said it was quite phenomenal. She actually works with refugees now. I think she's over in Greece at the moment. But she would never, she didn't see it because she was protected from that environment instead of, which she wasn't protected, she was impoverished because she wasn't in that environment. And I love that, you know, I can go to schools, and the little ones will come up to me and they go, do you know that Liam has been sitting today and done this with us? And you can kind of see those gradients of, and in fact, I can go into some of our schools, and I can see young children supporting others in their learning without the need of adults, and that is really that's a really wonderful place to be in. It's obviously depending on need, but that's my utopia, really, of seeing that.
Any other questions?
I mean,
I can tell Michelle.
I can.
Yeah.
You took my last question.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, just talking about the benefits for other children
Mhm.
with, you know, having all people in the same classroom. I'm just thinking about how it almost like normalises the fact that we are different. And I think particularly now, and I'm coming, I suppose, from somebody who's working with older students, you know, sort of at university, where there is very much this idea that it's only me that it's happening to. And it's almost like by bringing it together, it's like saying, actually, it's not just you. There's lots of other people who are kind of challenged in different ways, as well as you. So I suppose that's
So
more
maybe you're more open to talking about what your challenges are because you really, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it's almost like,
It's been interesting. So we appointed 3 years ago, we appointed a head teacher who is autistic. And it's got the most amazing, more qualifications than you can shake a stick at. The panel quite reluctant. They were anxious around making that appointment. And because I've got autistic sons myself, I had no fear in asking. I said, how do you manage, you know, those anxieties and things, and how, you know, running a school, how are you going to do that? And he's very clear, and he has all of the ways that he gets that support. And actually, he took a school that was double RI. It is now good. He has a most incredible, I mean, he will say to himself, he said, I think my obsession is SEND, because he said, we now take children that have been permanently excluded, and they run a provision, and that is, you know, and it's in fact, the local authority went in the other day apparently, and sort of faces dropped because it's not a resource base. It's not funded in that way. It's funded for the need of those children, but that has come out of his difference, but also that the community can see that as well. And I think when you need to have a head teacher that is relatable and stuff as well, isn't it? Because a lot of, you know, come from middle class backgrounds and all the rest of it, isn't it? Or mostly women in primary schools as well. And when you can say to somebody, well, actually, you know, I know about mental health. I've had my brother in a secure unit, or, you know, my colleagues, you know, husband's been in prison. It's all of those, the openness about being human is part of it as well, isn't it? And that we've all got stuff that we mask and etc. But that's the joy of being human, and learning about one another, and learning is what we should be about. Gosh, I go on too much.
That's great. Well, thank you, Jo.
Thank you.